Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Another week, another edition of the show. This week, I have Brandon and Shane of the awesome band Dream Phases. Now, not to get anyone confused with names going throughout, when I say Shane, and you should all be used to my voice by now, I'm not talking in the third person, considering this is the first Shane we've had on the show. Other than myself, it will be Shane on the other end answering questions, and I will be your one and only Murph today. But Brandon, Shane, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. So excited to talk to you. Album just dropped. So excited to talk about it. Phantom Idol. Been digging it, been playing it in our store throughout the day and getting a lot of awesome. One of my favorite things is when someone asks me, hey, what is this? And I love being able to talk about it. So having the artist here is a great moment to do something like that as well. So I can say, hey, remember that who you asked me about? Go listen to this, and you're gonna fall more in love with the fucking music you found.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Murph.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It's our pleasure, like I said. So I mean, Brandon, why don't you kick off and kind of give us a little quick background of Dream Phases coming into its iteration of the Phantom Idol album that just came out. I mean, there's 4 full lengths out, but to where this album is, why don't you give us a little quick synopsis how everything came together and how you guys got to where you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of had like a soft launch, I would say, in 2016, but the band really started in 2017 because we just kind of played a couple of shows, and it kind of came together just based on a recording project of myself. I was basically playing in a lot of bands at that point, kind of as a side session musician, and not really. I was putting my own songwriting on the back burner, basically, and I had accumulated about an album's worth of tracks at that point. So it just kind of started as a recording project where I was going to ask different friends to collaborate and play on different songs. And after we recorded the first EP, it became pretty obvious that we wanted to actually do a band and play live and tour and stuff like that. So Shane and I are brothers, and we've been playing together for a long time. We had a band before Dream Phases, so it was a no-brainer to ask Shane to play drums in the band and be a part of it. And then
you also didn't want to get beat up if you didn't ask him, right? Like it would have been some major weird dinner conversations at Thanksgiving,
or cymbals thrown at my head. I don't want any of that. That's right. So yeah. I mean, it was no brainer to have Shane, and we're very fortunate to be brothers and to share a lot of the same influences and passions and all that stuff. So it's Shane was there, and then another ex-member of our last band, Keveen, who's not here today but is still in the band as well, was also one of the original members. And it's been kind of the core 3 of us pretty much from that beginning up to present day. We've had some different friends and some different people fill in and play with us from time to time, some for quite some time, some for short periods of time. But it's been kind of the 3 of us, and we've put out all these records together. In the main canon, it's a little confusing with our discography on Spotify or on Apple or any of these, because they do list 4 albums, but really the Mr. Midnight album that's on there is really more of a compilation, because it's not really like a true like main album, just in the sense that it's made up of like a whole bunch of old demos and songs, and really it's just kind of like my home recordings of things that I didn't necessarily thought would fit with one of our albums, but I did want to kind of just put out because they've been on my drives for a long time or whatever.
One of my favorite songs is off of that. So
thank you.
By
Which
you
one
guys.
is that?
Light Years Away is one of my favorites. Because as soon as I find your stuff, if I like something, I fucking listen to everything I can get my hands on.
Awesome.
To truly find out if I'm gonna be in, because I like to see the journey too. I like to see where things began and to where it is today, to make sure that it's like, oh yeah, they are progressing and not regressing, and this is something I can get behind and kind of push it. So I mean, yeah, hey, listen, don't poo poo it, because one of my favorite songs is there. So
no, as a matter of fact, I really do love that album, and we're still trying to work on volume 2, and it's kind of been like we had this idea basically where we would do like Mr. Midnight volume 1, 2, 3 kind of like in between albums. So it could be made up of like outtakes from other albums, because each album we've made, we usually have like 3 or 4 or more songs that don't end up making it on the record, but maybe we demoed or something. So the idea is actually for that to be like a compilation series that is like in between the albums, which I feel like Mr. Midnight does kind of work as an album from like start to finish, because that is something that we really consider when we make albums is, song to song. This is a whole piece of work together, as opposed to like standalone singles. So that's just a little bit about Mr. Midnight. But the first real proper like band album that we did together with the idea that this is an album was So Long Yesterday. And from there, we did New Distractions during the pandemic. And then the newest one, Phantom Idol, we recorded kind of towards the end of the pandemic up until like the end of last year, pretty much.
Now, was that like a conscious thing of you had all this kind of stuff and you weren't sure about how to get it recorded, or I mean, because that's a long time to be fiddling with something. But you're also California, so your pandemic ended differently than our pandemic here, I guess, on the East Coast. So I mean, who really knows what the fucking date is? Does
Yeah.
anybody have the date? Like, I don't know. I'm still finding myself today. I had to go to the doctor and they handed me a mask before I could even step in the door, and I was like, well, it makes sense. I am
Right.
sick, but
Right.
at the same time, okay. So
Oh, I hope you feel better soon, man.
yeah.
You're saying the time between the last two albums, or the time
Well,
to finish
the recording of this, since you said, kind of towards, you started filling it in towards the end of the pandemic and then getting to the end of last year to finish it up and get it out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Shane, did we started recording this in, was it 2022 or was it 2023? I think it was like the end of 2022. So it was really after the pandemic.
Fall of 2022.
It just took a long time because we did like an initial session where we did a couple of songs, and then we did a second session where we did pretty much the rest of the album, and then there were several months taken for mixing, and then there was the mastering, and then we, for whatever reason, we always find that the art takes a really long time. We almost every single time we're doing cover art, it goes on for like months and months and months past like what we originally agree upon. And makes sense. I mean, we're all artists here, and I understand schedules and things like that, but it's just the whole thing, also saving up the money for everything, figuring out how we were going to release it, figuring out like promo stuff, making videos. It was just like everything combined, took about 2 years from start to finish to get it all aligned and finally get it out. The vinyl too, the vinyl takes quite some time now. This was actually a lot faster than our last album though, because New Distractions, unfortunately, it came like a year later. The vinyl itself came about a year later than the actual album was out. So,
well, in that time frame, we also lost one of the largest manufacturers of vinyl at that time,
right?
Too. So that's why,
There was that's actually, I'm not sure if you're referring to that, the plant that was, I think it's in Central California or in Ventura or somewhere not that far from us, but there was that one plant that made, what was it, like the metal part of the lacquers or something? And that it burned down, right?
Burned down, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there was a big hunk of stuff not getting out, and then there was the warehouse that fucking just locked everybody's stuff up and went out of business. So there was a lot of shit going on at that
exactly.
time. So, it felt so bad for artists, man. It was tough time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, Shane, I got a question for you. When you're doing this and how you kind of like would go in, do a couple songs, record, then go back, do some more. Do you find it hard sometimes to leave the ones you've already got down and finished, to not, as I always, kind of put it here as an artist, sometimes you want to go back and add paint to your painting, but sometimes it just makes the painting a mess at that point. Do you find it hard to leave the things alone that are already completed, or do you kind of like, are you okay to write it off and be like, okay, those are done, we're not going back to those at all?
Well, I mean, typically, yes, I would find it hard to leave it alone, but this album, Phantom Idol, I feel like is the first time where I don't really have any complaints about the album. I'm just really happy with the way it came out, like the personnel that we worked with, with Matt Schuessler and Rob Snap. Like, they have such just a high level of professionalism and creative ability that I really feel like they did the best representation of our music they possibly could.
How about you, Brandon? Were you okay with that? Because I need some sibling rivalry here to make this juicy. No, I hate it. I wanted to go back to it, but Shane made me do this. I'm just fucking with you. I'm not looking to break you guys up or anything.
No, that was our last band. That's the ending of our last band. But luckily, this one's been much more functional. No, I feel the same way as Shane on this one. I mean, we we got to work with, well, Rob in particular is one of our all-time favorite producers. He's produced like at least two or three of my favorite albums of all time. And it was just a pleasure to work with someone like that. So I think we really were on the top of our game ourselves, just because we wanted to go in there and make the most of our chance to work with these guys. And we were really prepared. I mean, we had all the songs picked out and really rehearsed. And I mean, we recorded the whole thing in, like, I think under a week. I mean, there was a couple extra like overdub days where we would do a couple things here or there, but no, I'm very happy with the process and the way the album came out. I really don't have any complaints about it.
Awesome. Now, where would you kind of, especially in today's world where everything kind of has to fall into a category, right? Where it's, and that category is called a genre, and with so many subgenres and everything. I don't sit here and ever really try to throw out a genre label on someone. I prefer the band to kind of state that. And the reason is, honestly, because people kind of want to know. And I always think, for me, everything is just music anyway. But if you guys had to list yourself, or if someone has already listed yourself, where do you say you would fall into genre, subgenre wise, Shane?
Well, we're a little bit hard to pin down, and I think that's actually, a little bit of like our differences in taste, especially between the siblings, Brandon and I. But, I would say we're kind of really influenced by like the songwriting of the 60s and 70s, but then we both share a lot of modern influences. So like, shoegaze and post-punk and even krautrock and noise rock all kind of play their part as influence on our overall sound. So it's kind of like we're vintage, but we're modern. We're in between. That's kind of my stance on it.
You feel the same way, Brandon?
Yeah, I think it was a little easier on our earlier albums to say we were kind of part of the neo-psychedelic garage scene or whatever that was, just because our first release was on Lollipop Records and we were associated with a lot of like Burger Records bands. And I think that was kind of the goal, kind of even musically starting off. But with each record, I think we've been trying to expand and change it. We're already talking about different ideas for the next album. But yeah, I would agree with what Shane said. I mean, I think we fall kind of under like the psychedelic rock umbrella, but along with the influences that Shane said, I mean, we're also, even influenced by things like country rock and Americana, a lot of like surf stuff, a lot of harmony group kind of things. So, in today's, I don't even really know what like all the popular genres are today. I definitely know we don't fit in with, a lot of what's going on. So
I don't think anybody knows what they all are. So
yeah, who knows? So it's definitely a little bit of a retro influence thing, but we are trying to with each release to refine and continue to hopefully put our own stamp on whatever it is we're contributing to.
Well, I think that's important, and that's where I categorize you guys. I have my term that I call nostalgic. It's not, you're not a nostalgic act. You're taking something that you gain some influence from, but you're kind of turning it into your own and making it so someone younger or your age can listen to it now. And that's why I call it nostalgic. It's not, there are some people that are, there are some bands out there that I won't name names, but I'm like, yeah, I already have Led Zeppelin. I don't need a younger version of it in my life. I'm sure people can pick from that, but there are bands that it's just like, okay, that's a nostalgia act. And, and that's where I differ and I say nostalgic. Like, you guys are a nostalgic act. Like, I can see where your influences came from in your music, but I don't hear those bands. You know what I mean? Like, I get where it came from, but I cannot associate it and say, and pinpoint and say, oh yeah, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do their own thing with what they were influenced by, which is very important to make yourselves different than everyone else.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between like being derivative of like obvious bands, but then being able to hear the influences and what the artist is doing, but they're not copying that artist, but you can tell like they channel like some of the same energy or whatnot.
No, without a doubt. Like there's so many on so much of your stuff that I listen to, like I'm like, oh, I get some like for bands that I grew up loving and that were, garage style psych rock, and like even like I love your harmonies because my first band ever that I ever fell in love with, that made me fall in love with music, was the Beach Boys. So like
Oh yeah.
I get the harmonies, like I'm anything that has harmonies in it, forget it. I'm fucking, you got me hook, line, and sinker. Fuck, I'm stuck. But then I get like that old school garage rock, like 13th Floor Elevators, and like, getting that old, like, oh wow, there's some crazy shit going on. Wow, there's a fucking harmony right here. Like, and that's what I love. I love complexity, simplicity, and complexity all in one song. I love it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I mean, we love both those bands you mentioned. I mean, especially the Beach Boys. They're a massive influence on us,
and the Beatles,
both musically and culturally. Being from California and Los Angeles, definitely one of our favorites.
Well, yeah, you're kind of handed that kind of stuff, like me here in Jersey. The day you're born, you're handed a fucking Springsteen fucking CD and said, "Here you go, enjoy your life."
The boss.
Yeah. But touching on what what happened to me when I found music, I'll start with you, Shane. Like, was there something that you heard as a small child? Like I always. And Brandon, when he's finished, you can go on to your own, and I'd love to hear if there were differences. But there's two pivotal moments, and it's the first time you hear music that catches your ears, like mine was the Beach Boys. And then there's another point where you find some music that you didn't know existed, and that kind of led you down a rabbit hole of kind of where you self-discovery.
Yeah, there's several examples. I'd say like one of the earliest ones is just I was riding in my dad's pickup truck with Brandon, like on the way to hockey practice, and my dad would be playing Led Zeppelin 4 on cassette. And the first time I heard Black Dog, I was just totally entranced. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. And then once I start like getting into my own artists, I was like really into like Green Day, Dookie, and like Offspring Americana. But then like fast forward to high school, like around like sophomore year, I get into Radiohead, and that just completely changed my world of music. That's where I felt so creatively liberated, and started exploring more underground stuff like My Buddy Valentine and jazz, and it just all took off from there.
Yeah, and I mean, Shade and I share the exact same thing when it comes to Led Zeppelin Black Dog. I mean, that is like the key point. That track and the Who's Substitute, those two songs in particular, were the first ones that just like totally infiltrated my nervous system, and I just like, when I heard those songs, I felt like I was, levitating off the seat I was sitting on, and I've never been the same after hearing those songs. So those were like the real early. I mean, this is like probably somewhere between like 5 and 6 and 7, somewhere in that range. And then, Green Day Dookie was an important one too, like Shane mentioned, because that was the first one that I got into, like with my contemporaries, my friends at school. It was the first band that like wasn't shown to me by my parents, which, were listening to a lot of Zeppelin and the Who and Fleetwood Mac and a lot of stuff like that. So that was big. And then around late middle school, early high school, I got really into Nirvana and a lot of the grunge stuff. That was big. But then I would say even more important was like the Beatles. And it's funny, I didn't really get into them until high school. For whatever reason, I was into a lot of kind of, I guess, the heavier bands and things, but them and Jimi Hendrix sent me down the whole rabbit hole of just being obsessed with like 60s and 70s stuff and a lot of psychedelia, and just needing to find out about every band that had any sort of psychedelic influence. And I mean, pretty much brought me to this day, like 20 years later, however much longer. So, and to the day, the Beatles are still my ultimate favorite, which, for a lot of people, I think is an easy, obvious choice, but I definitely do stand.
Yeah, I call it a cop out. I call it
and I get it. I get it.
Yeah, like I understand. And it's always the easy answer for people. Like if you ask them what's your, the favorite band, and I'm like, you're not allowed to fucking say that. And the reason why I usually do that too is because I'm not a Beatles guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm a fan of like stuff that essentially the Beatles created, right? Like
Right.
I'm a big Star guy. I'm a Teenage Fan Club, Posies.
Oh
like,
yeah.
the
Love 'em.
harmonies, like I'm all in on that. But for some reason, like the Beatles never, and people are like, that's fucking weird. I'm like, I know, I understand, but like it wasn't for me. And
Yeah.
what's so weird is like their change in style and music was so fast. Like I usually try
Yeah.
to put it to people, like especially with the Beatles, like people don't understand. Like when you hear the name the Beatles, you're like, oh my god, yeah, they were around forever. They had a fucking 9.5 year run, right? It was like the Brady Bunch. People don't realize the Brady Bunch, the kids got so old in such a short period of time. It was on for 4 fucking years, but you think
Yeah.
it was on forever, but it wasn't. And it's the same thing with the Beatles. Like they had a
Yeah.
very short-lived career as a
Yeah.
band and as this huge influential band that was out there, that, you know, in a short period of time, they created so many different things that it was like, holy shit, you can
Well,
kind of
yeah.
understand why it was going to kind of self-combust at some point too.
And I mean, even they were only around together for about 6 to 7 years in actual recorded music too. I mean, because they got signed to Parlophone and put out, I think Please Please Me maybe came out like 1962 possibly, but like the albums were like 63 to 69 really. I mean, Let It Be came out 70, but that was recorded at the beginning of 69. So yeah, and I mean each album is just a total transformation. And you know, there's literally thousands of bands you can find that are influenced, their whole sound and their whole careers are influenced on like one song or one album by the Beatles essentially, and then they just changed. So you know, I get it why, you know, some people might not like them as much. It's definitely a band that's pushing a lot of people's faces and is kind of just on their own. But I completely connected with it.
I love
it.
I love that people get it. And that's always my thing. Like I've tried, like it's, you know, essentially what I did with your music. I go and I listen to everything.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that one thing. And for me, it's like, I don't know if I'm shut off. And I've had people like who are the fans of fans sit down and try to educate me on it. And I'm very well versed and educated in music. But it's like I'm listening to it, I'm like, yeah, like okay, I can see some but I'm like, I don't know why it hasn't hit me. I don't know why it hasn't done that. And like I go, the same reason why I'll play you something, you're like, I don't like that, but and I'll just scream from a mountaintop being like, this is the greatest thing I ever fucking heard in my life. How do you not get it? So we're all allowed to be opinionated assholes. So we're allowed.
That's very true.
Now, when was it that, I mean, of course, being brothers and being in a household and sharing musical likes and dislikes, when was it that musical instruments started to pop up in your household and in your life? Shane?
Well, for me, I probably got my first guitar around 12, and I wasn't really like gravitating that much towards it. And then I was always like tapping on tables and stuff. So my dad went to like the Home Depot and got some paint buckets. He's like, if you can keep a beat, I'll buy you a drum set. So I proved myself, and I started playing the drums around 13. And I would say really the band that got me to want to play music in the first place was Nirvana. Just like seeing the energy that they were able to transmit on stage, that just always really resonated with me. And it was like, resemblance of like Led Zeppelin too. It's like that energy that they create, that force. It's like that was just so compelling and just totally sucks you in.
Well, the Nirvana, the big example that I always go to with Nirvana, and I've had conversations with people with, oh, Nirvana's my favorite band. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're not. And because I'll always say, when's the last time you listened to Nirvana? And most people will be like, oh, probably 17 years ago. But I say the biggest thing that Nirvana did, and that no one will ever be able to take away from that, is they proved that with enough passion and energy, anyone can do it. And that is what they're most remembered for, without people truly understanding what it was. They were the first ones where me as a kid, because I was there when it happened, and I was in high school when Nirvana broke, and it was no longer did you have to know how to do a fucking 4-minute Stevie Vai guitar solo. You could play power chords and have energy and say fuck you to the system and just do it. And that's what, I think that's what most people truly remember about them, without understanding that that's what they remember about them, because it was passion and energy. And you were like, fuck, I can do that too. They look like me. They sound like me. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be the greatest guitarist or the greatest bass player or the greatest drummer. Even though Grohl was a little bit better than Chad Channing, but
Yeah, just a little bit.
just a little bit.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, I think, there's that great book by Michael Azerrad, Our Band Could Be Your Life. Have you read that before?
Yes, I have. I've read it twice.
So it ties back into punk, really, in the late 70s and then the whole 80s alternative underground music scene, where they were, just regular guys that went through that, got into punk and made it huge. I don't think they probably had any expectation or any dream of making it that big. But I think what they did, to tie into what your point is they broke down that invisible fake distance basically between the audience and the musicians.
Without a doubt.
When you look at Elvis, you look at the Beatles, you look at Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, those are rock gods. That's how people describe them. Janis Joplin, these people. Nirvana was like, oh, that's my friend. Like, oh yeah, anybody can do it. And I do think that is super empowering. I do also love like the rock god fantasy, because that is entertainment and that's pure escapism, where Nirvana isn't really selling escapism. They're selling catharticism or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like, oh, that guy was a loser in high school. I was too. I was an outcast. They're just like me. I'll pick up a guitar, which is super empowering and really special in its own way. And I think you're right. If that's what you're saying also, I think that is something really huge and important that they brought.
Yeah, it really is, because it is that they did break that wall. I grew up with that underground punk scene of the Black Flag, Minor Threat, Descendants, to see someone like, wow, so it's possible. Like that was always the big thing. Like, oh yeah. I'm still seeing my favorite bands in VFW halls that have been doing it for 12 years, and like, but they, a band like that finally broke, and it's like, yeah, guys, there's more than just fucking pretty faces that make music. Like there's something that people, I don't think, really understood at the time, that there was this huge thing going on, and it wasn't, people always look at it as a rebellion, and I just think it was just this huge feeling of just people wanting to be heard that were never heard. And not like today where anybody can say whatever the fuck they want on social media, but it was like, I want to feel accepted, and no matter where I go, I'm not. And Nirvana kind of broke that mold, where now basically there's a place for everyone, and that's why I always hold them in such high regard.
Absolutely. And they were great songwriters. I mean, the songs are very powerful, very well written songs.
It's like quarterly, they're pretty simple, like rhythmically with just the power chords, but then Kurt Cobain's like infectious melodies, like on the same level of like John Lennon or Paul McCartney. They're actually kind of pretty complicated melodies just to sing over, like the chords and stuff, like the counter rhythms. Like when you start dissecting it, it's
cool. Well, and it's probably the same reason why Unplugged is my favorite thing they've done.
Yeah.
Like
it's like,
it's like Unplugged, In Utero, Bleach, and then Nevermind for me. But like, that's how I roll with them. Now, Brandon, if your brother, did you get his guitar that he no longer wanted? Is that how that transpired? Or like, how did that, where'd that guitar end up?
No, actually, I'm 4 years older than Shane, so I started playing music, I think, a bit before him. But even before that, we had guitars in the house because our dad's a guitar player as well. So we were already exposed to that in music, like from day one, pretty much. So I was pretty shy with music when I was a kid, like real young, like elementary school. So I never really liked going to like music class where we had to do like, where we had to sing in front of other people. So I didn't really like want to, even though I was obsessed with music and listened all the time and everything, I didn't really want to start playing music until high school. I took a video production class, and one of the assignments was to make a music video. And there was probably like 6 or 7 groups that did this activity. And the only good music video that came out of it was the music video that was made by the actual musicians that were in the class. These guys that I think every one of them played guitar or something. So they're just all standing around in their video playing guitar. But for whatever reason, that spoke to me, and I thought it was so cool. So at that point, I went home and asked for a guitar. I wish I had started earlier because I had the opportunity to take piano lessons and I probably could have pushed for guitar lessons. But yeah, it was around 15 or so when I started playing guitar, and I just became obsessed with it at that point.
Now, being obsessed with it, did your shyness go away and you go seek like-minded people, or did you kind of keep in the household of what you were doing?
Well, it's kind of funny. I was just shy when it came to like singing in front of people like early on because I was also kind of a class clown. I was very like kind of loud and outrageous in class and got in all sorts of trouble all the time. So it wasn't necessarily like a full shyness. If for whatever reason it was just tied to like music or like public performance or something. But I think, when I started playing and by the time I started to find people to play with, we were like super into punk and it was just like, I don't give a fuck attitude. So I kind of lost most of that stage fright or whatever it was, because by the time I started playing, we were just doing like, drunken high school backyard pool party shows and things,
The fun ones. Yeah.
Yeah, or play at the Legion halls, things like that. We're too young to play in clubs or bars yet. So by the time I did start playing in that, I feel like I was somewhat of a seasoned musician.
Right. Well, what was the name of the very first band you were ever in or created, Brandon?
I think the punk band that I started changed its name pretty much like bi-weekly, but I think I have a patch somewhere that says Another No One with like a skeleton face with like a mohawk. I think
Very
it's
punk.
called Another No One. Yeah.
All right, it's not terrible. It's not Shane. What was the name of the very first band you were ever in?
We changed our names like 3 or 4 times, but the longest iteration of the band was called the Denizens.
All right. Yeah, and at that time when you're coming up, when you're just starting to play music and coming to do things, I remember that time very well. And it was more important to have a cool band name. So you would always look for what are we going to stick with? You spent more time on the band name and a logo than you did ever practicing songs. So
it's hard. Band names are very hard.
Yeah.
Now, going from that point, when was the first time that like you properly played in front of strangers that like weren't your friends or relatives or kids in high school, like actual strangers, Shane? When was the first time you got to perform in front of actual strangers and what did it feel like?
It always felt pretty good to me, but I probably around like 14, 15 at the latest. I think the first show like outside of my city was like this place called the Masonic Temple, like kind of near my grandparents' place. Actually, it was like in Tahunga.
Saw a lot of shows at Masonic temples here in Jersey.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just for those who don't know, it's really just another VFW and bottom of a church. So yeah,
right, exactly.
How about you, Brandon?
There used to be an all ages venue out in the valley, in the San Fernando Valley here. I think it was in Chatsworth, and I'm totally blanking on the name right now, but it was basically at that time the only place underage bands played. So there'd just be like 4 or 5 underage bands that would hop on some random bill and play for each other, and whoever showed up. I don't really ever remember that many people coming to the shows, but that's kind of where we first started playing like club wise. And I remember like sometimes they would just like turn off the PA if they like didn't like you or you didn't bring enough people, which is kind of funny. But it was there, and then after that, I went through the whole ringer of like the Sunset Strip crap of like selling tickets to play at the Viper Room or the Whiskey and playing with a bunch of shitty bands, probably including ourselves at that time. That really had no similarities whatsoever, and the Whiskey or whoever was just totally trying to take the money from you and didn't give a shit about the music whatsoever. But we definitely played with different people and met a lot of people through that. And, it was a good feeling when you went on the stage because you're thinking about the history of those places. But as soon as it's over, it just feels like, a total scam. So those were some of my earliest like club bar memories.
So what was the moment the two of you decided to come together and create together?
I think it was
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Shane.
We always like jam together at home, and I've always been influenced by Brand's songwriting and other bands that he's been in, and always been supportive of that. I think by the time I turned 18, our parents finally allowed us to play together because they knew it was inevitable,
Do you agree with that, Brandon?
Yeah. I guess I do. I think looking back, I think my parents didn't want us to play together at first because I was a little older and
yeah, they didn't want the older brother influence of dragging him down.
Yeah, I definitely went through my, pretty wild, crazy period. And I don't think they wanted Shane necessarily a part of that. But yeah, I think it was kind of inevitable as well. And was around that time period.
What I'm gathering here, Shane was the good son.
That's what they say.
I was like extremely sheltered and the good kid. I got like perfect attendance and bullshit like that. And then I get into high school and start going to parties and drink a little bit and smoke some weed. And that brings me totally out of my shell.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I was lucky enough that my older brother was 10 years older than me, and he fucked up so much that by the time it got around to me, it was like, as long as he comes home at night alive, we don't care.
I think that's a similar. Yeah, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, we had some scares.
Now, growing up and being able and having some of these all ages shows, do you guys remember, like, Shane, your very first live concert you ever got to see? Do you remember who it was and where it was? And then Brandon.
Yeah, but it's actually a big concert.
That's fine.
Our family was vacationing in Las Vegas, and we were staying at the Madeline Bay Hotel and Casino, and they had the House of Blues there. And just coincidentally, Third Eye Blind was playing there, like on their second record tour or whatever, and we went to go see it. And I was pretty entranced on that too. But I remember a super funny memory, like the lead singer, Stephen Jenkins, he's like, I'm the devil. And he thought he was the coolest thing, like holding up like the devil horns and stuff. I'm like, dude, your music's not even heavy. It's like, come on. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so was it good? Because I've seen Third Eye Blind a couple of times, and
I think it was pretty good.
Stephen has had a hard time keeping his voice in check at shows that I've been to, and I think they're fucking a great band. I love their music, and I'm just like, every time I go to see them, I've always been a little bit disappointed at it.
I think we probably enjoyed it at the time because, like Shane said, it was an early concert for us. So I think it was like it could have been anything.
So was that was yours too, Brandon?
No, but it was pretty early on. I mean, how old were you when we saw that, Shane?
I think I was 13, like right around the time I just started playing the drums.
Yeah, so I would have been around 17. That would have been, I mean, funny enough, my dad being a musician as well, we didn't really go to very many concerts as a family growing up. I didn't really start going to concerts until I was with my friends in high school. And I do wear this kind of as a proud badge of honor, but the first like real concert I went to was All Tomorrow's Parties that took place at UCLA. And it was the year that Sonic Youth curated the whole lineup. So me and about 2 or 3 friends from high school went there, and I got to see Sonic Youth and Stereolab, and I think like Mike Watt and the Firemen, Peaches. It was just a very eye-opening experience at that age, because I was already into Sonic Youth and Nirvana and a lot of the alternative rock stuff, but I hadn't seen it live, and we were probably the youngest people there. We were like, I guess 16 or 17 at that time. And it was just absolutely mind blowing to be at that. I still love Stereolab too, and I'd never heard of them before seeing them that night. It just blew me away.
Yeah, and they're a band that I think is very unsung. Like I don't think most people really know who they are. Like you can say the name Stereolab and be like, oh yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah. But I don't think anybody's really heard of them, like, or listened to their music or sat down and gotten into their music. And a lot of it nowadays is really hard to come by too, besides streaming, but like a physical version of something from Stereolab is really hard to come by. And it's like that, those kind of bands, like, there's all that kind of stuff that was around at that time that I think, you get one song that people heard and then you were gone, but the vast fucking discography made by a band like that is just fucking overwhelming and fantastic, but nobody really ever has the opportunity or took the time to like sit down with a Stereolab and be like, holy shit, wow, this is fucking, there's so many bands like that. One for me too, with that was like Super Drag. Like,
oh yeah, they were great too.
Yeah, like so many fucking albums and so many awesome things, but you know them from like one song. Yeah,
I remember back in the day, there was a website, I think it was just called like mp3.com or something like that, where I don't know if you guys remember that. I think that's what it was called, but it's basically a website where you could go and there'd be like one song for free off of these different albums. And that's actually where I first discovered Superdrag that you just mentioned. I'm pretty sure like Stereolab, Elliott Smith, there was a bunch of like indie rock artists that had their stuff on this website, and it was just like one song you could download. And I found out about a lot of them through that, and a lot of the alternative bands just through early blogs and those early like indie websites.
Yeah, that's the good old days of music discovery, where it was like a little bit of work, but it was also
it
was when you did the work and you got something you loved, it was so inspirational and you were so excited to show it to people.
Oh yeah, I remember Pavement was like that for me, where I somehow I stumbled across Pavement at some point, and it was like exactly what I was looking for at that time stylistically. I was like wanting something that kind of had a little bit of the experimentation and noise of Sonic Youth, but something that was a bit more catchy and poppy too. And I remember I stumbling across, I was probably like off All Music. I used to use All Music all the time and go to like the similar artist tab and like click on every band that was associated with one band. And and it was like that, discovering that. It's like, oh my God, I just found this like lost treasure. And obviously not lost, people know about them, but for me,
Yeah. We've both always been into like doing heavy research and discovery, like you find one band you really like and then you click on them and find similar artists to that and just go down the rabbit hole.
It's a great rabbit hole, and it's also terrifying at the same time.
It's endless, that's for sure.
It's definitely endless. I mean, how do you think I do this show with all the bands that I have on here? I've done. It's one of those things where it's like I spend so much time at like listening to music and finding music and being able to share music with people that at times it's like, fuck, I need to stop. Like it's like a drug. Like it really is. It's a drug. It's like, wow, I really need to go to rehab and like not listen to music for a week, but I can't. Like I just can't do it because it's so vast and there's so much out there and there's so much awesome shit to find that you've never heard of before. And that's the best part about it. And also the worst part about it, that people haven't heard of some of the stuff that, we'll sit here and talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I in particular, I've always worried about getting to this point, but I know I'm at it at this point, which is I don't really discover as many new bands anymore. A lot of the research I'll do tends to be on bands from like the 60s or 70s in particular. I don't know if you know Shindig magazine, but it's a great publication based out of the UK, and they pretty much specialize in talking about obscure stuff from that period. And it's kind of crazy to think how many like lost recordings from that time period are just even still surfacing today. And when you then put that into today's standards of people making music right now, it's insane to think about how much music's going to be discovered like 30, 40, 50 years from now, especially, bands from the 50s, 60s, 70s did not have the money or access to studios or the ability to record. So the fact that there's like hundreds and hundreds of like reissues coming out all the time from that period, it's probably in the millions of like people recording and making original music right now that nobody knows about at all.
Oh,
so
you're gonna find computers that battery died on. You're gonna get the battery hopped up, and you're gonna find these catalogs of music people recorded. Yeah, it's crazy.
Imagine. Yeah, it's insane.
I just talked about a band that I like on my last episode. That there was someone found a fucking crate of tapes, not cassettes, but actual analog tape.
Yeah, wow.
From a band from the 90s. They recorded something. It was unbelievable. It was in a garage, never saw the light of day, and it was just released by someone who found these tapes. It was a band called Underwater Sunshine, and it's like it is a master class in 90s power pop, like of the ilk of like Sloan and the Posies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
those bands.
No one had ever heard it before. And it was just sitting in someone's garage, and someone was like, this is fucking great. They mixed it and released it, and it's unbelievable.
Wow. Oh, wow. You got to tell us the name of that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, the name of the band is Underwater Sunshine, and the name of the album is Sucker Tree. But yeah.
I'm going to write that down. Yeah, because I love the Posies and Sloan as well. I mean, we're huge power pop fans as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting here with all my Posies memorabilia in front of me, all the signed posters and albums and everything.
Oh, man, they were so great.
Yeah, I'm a power pop guy. So.
Oh, same. Oh, you said Underwater Sunshine. What was the album called?
Sucker Tree, one word.
Okay, I'll look that up. That's great.
Yeah, I'll check it out too.
So is there, I'll start with you, Shane. Is there a band in your life, we're talking about bands and how much we love them. Is there a band in your life that is your constant go-to? I know Brandon said his favorite band is the Beatles, and I, say poo-poo on that. You're not allowed to use that. So I usually go down the road of, is there a band that just never lets you down? Like, I always look at it as, when I don't know what I want to listen to, I always turn them on while I'm scrolling for something else to listen to. So it's a band that never lets you down that you constantly listen to.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of them, but I don't feel like I'm like always need to listen to like one band. The older I get, the more and more I love the Beatles. I mean, they are my favorite band too, just because everything I love is just so influenced by the Beatles. But another band would probably be like Autolux. I know they have a limited discography, but like I could put those albums on at any time, or like the classic Deer Hunter albums. Or there's even a band from the UK that we both really like called Orica Basic. It's a little less known, but their records have a great vibe too. Yeah, Elliott Smith, you know, we're both really heavily influenced by him and just his brilliant songwriting. So yeah.
Some of my favorite items that I own are the Heat Miser original vinyls.
Nice.
That I got when they came out, and had no idea that later on in life when I heard Elliott Smith that, wait, that voice sounds familiar. Oh my God, he was in a punk band called I have all this stuff. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We have a close friend that has worked as our tour manager before, as booker based in Vegas, and he grew up in Portland and saw a lot of those early Heat Miser shows and the early Elliott Smith shows. And he absolutely feels the same way. He loves Heat Miser.
All right, Brandon. So I put you on a spot. You're not allowed to say the Beatles, so we got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a huge record collector. I'm staring at part of my record collection right now, which is probably around 2,000 vinyls just in my basement studio here. I listen to all sorts of stuff, but like my all-time favorites that I always go back to are people like Neil Young, the Byrds, the Deer Hunter, like Shane said, they're one of my favorite bands like the last 20 years. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are like way up there for me as well. So
Petty's on the Mount Rushmore of songwriters. So that's
yeah. And I was lucky enough to be able to meet him and work with him actually when I was playing in a band. And you know, they say don't meet your heroes, but he ended up being like absolutely who you think he would be, and one of the coolest people that I've ever met in my life. So that totally reinforced, because Petty was also one of the ones that we grew up with our parents too, and they played Tom Petty all the time. So. Yeah. And as a songwriter, I'm very influenced by him.
Talking about rock gods, I mean, you know.
Yeah, hands down. I mean, it's so tragic he passed away when he did. And but I mean, I love a lot of the 60s stuff, 70s stuff. I mean, I also love soul. I love country rock, folk,
all right.
blues, jazz.
You like it all. Okay, I got it.
Well, I don't like it all, but I like what I like.
Yeah, no, you know what you like, so you're fine. Yeah, you know what you like.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to see if this will bring up two different answers, but if no one has heard your music and you have, let's say, I don't even care the time, but you have to show them one song that best describes the band. Okay, one song in your catalog, and you know, I always look at it as like you're sitting down in front of Clive Davis and you have to impress him with one song that you have out. What song would you play for him, Brandon? And then after Brandon answers, Shane, you just better be different.
Well, right now, and I'm sorry if I take your Shane, but right now I would pick Turn Away from our new album. That's the first song we wrote for the new record, and it's the first time that Shane, Keveen, and I sat down and wrote a song from scratch together. And I feel like that was indicative of what this album was going to be about, and it was also just the pure blending synchronicities of or synergy, I should say, of our three influences into the sound that we were going to kind of establish moving forward. And if I was, in an A&R meeting, and we're thinking about, oh, you got to hear this one song that's hopefully going to hook you. Hopefully that one has some hooks in it and things and grooves that would make somebody enticed to want to hear another song. So yeah, I'd pick Turn Away if I had to pick one right now.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I was going to say Hell on Highway, actually, because it's a shorter song, concise, but it's just immediate. I feel like that's a good, gateway into our music. It's like psychedelic and poppy, but it hits hard. So I feel like that's a good foray.
All right. Nice. Well, we all have different answers. I have different answers too.
What's yours?
Mine's Haunt Me.
Oh, great.
Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
I don't know what it is, but when I listen to things, sometimes it's usually this song that I find myself going back to. That and Way Down, like, are the two that I, for some reason, like, constantly was like, you know what? I try to figure them out. Like, that's the kind of thing, and I'm like, that's what I would play if I'm sitting there trying to figure it out instead of just like moving on. Like, that's when I'm like, okay, that's got me. There's something about it.
That's pretty cool, because both of those songs were songs that Shane and I wrote together. He came up with most of the music, and then we collaborated further, and I came up with most of the melodies and lyrics for the most part. Haunt Me we did together. But that's interesting you picked those two out, because yeah, those were two straight co-writes between us, and yeah, very proud of both of those songs.
Wow, look at that. Look at me picking the brothers. I knew there was something going on.
And the cool thing about Haunt Me, I'll say too, is that there's the song that Shane just mentioned, Hell on Highway, we put out with the local label called Hypnotic Bridge here, that's run by our friend Stu Pope. And he's like a total 60s head. I mean, just obsessed with psychedelia. And surprisingly, we went to a pool party threw for us for our new album just to celebrate it. And he said Haunt Me was his favorite song. And it kind of surprised me, because I didn't necessarily think that would have been his first choice. But he's like, that's my favorite one on the new album. And I was like, we were pleasantly surprised.
That's awesome. I feel like I'm in good company then.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that song's really personal to me. It's about a relationship I went through with some people, and yeah, it really hits home. I feel like the chorus is like really infectious in that song. It has such a great vibe. I love how we were able to channel that halftime vibe.
Well, yeah, it got me.
See, that'd be an interesting thing to put on like a future Mr. Midnight release, because that song, the original version that Shane and I demoed, was totally different, had a totally different tempo and feel to it. So that song went through a lot of evolutions before it got to the point where it was finished. We felt it was finished.
Now, when you're doing that, though, to get something like that in all the different evolutions it went to, and you're figuring this is the best evolution, and say you wanted to do something for a Mr. Midnight, what one of the 12 evolutions of the song would you want to pick on it? Because then you're now we talked about rabbit holes. Now you're like, oh fuck, what do we do here? And like, do you just figure out, hey, this is the bones of it, right? Like, I always look at things like, you got bones, you got muscle, you got skin. What are the bones? Like, let's start there. And then you get the muscle on it, and then the skin, or I'm morbid. People usually do layers of cake or whatever, but I do it, especially when it comes to music, because it's always the bones, because that's the keys on a piano. But how would you decipher what to choose on that iteration of putting out on a Mr. Midnight?
Well, I'm not sure that we would for sure. And I think the main criteria would be that it almost felt like a different song. Like I wouldn't want to put out like an alternate take that's super similar. Like that wouldn't make sense. If we ever hit the big time and we're around like 50 years from now, we're doing a huge box set, maybe, but if for something that we'd put out now, it would have to be like, oh wow, like this is strikingly different. So it would give me a reason to like listen to this song more than once or twice, and with that song is just an example because it was so different before. I mean, I think there's possibly different lyrics. The tempo was like totally different. Maybe the chord changed, or at least like the inversions of them. So that's just an example of something I'd be like, oh wow, this is like strikingly different than the released version. But maybe we wouldn't do that. Maybe we would just stick to like all new songs anyway for something like that.
It was just like an unmixed demo. It started as like just like a 90s alt rock song that I demoed, and I was like, this doesn't really fit the vibe of Dream Phases. So I was like, I think we should, I can work on the sound more. And I was kind of envisioning, like a mix of like Velvet Underground and Beach House or something, and then that's what came out.
Well, I love it. So kudos to the finished product.
Thank you.
All right. Now, this is going to be easier probably for the second person to answer because you're going to have some time for it. But I'll start with Brandon on this one. Meteor's going to crash into the earth. You have 5 minutes left to live, and you have to listen to one song. What one song are you listening to?
Wow. Yeah, that's really tricky. I mean, the one song that pops into my head, I don't know why, right off the bat when you said that, is the Flamingos' I Only Have Eyes for You, the old doo-wop song from the 50s. Yeah. And I'll explain why. And I'm obsessed with doo-wop and a lot of that style too. But when I'm thinking about a meteorite, I'm thinking about like an apocalypse. So I'm sort of thinking about like the Fallout video game or that world, and they always use those old doo-wop songs.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, I guess that's just going to be my pick off the cuff there.
No, I love how fast it was. Shane, your turn.
I mean, I have no idea, man. Probably something that makes me escape, but like the Beatles, I'm Only Sleeping or something, where I don't want to accept reality.
All right. Hey, listen, you picked a song pretty quick. So, and Brandon, I love. Listen, it's a hard question, but it's fast. I'm that guy who got the notes tattooed on my arm. So,
what was it?
Mine's "Over the Rainbow" as done by Ray Charles. So,
amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's mine.
That's a good choice.
That version of like people don't understand. It's a 5-minute song because his opening that he does on it is so beautiful that
I'm going to listen to that again after we get off here.
All right. So, listen, we're coming in on our time here. I've had a blast talking to you guys. We're going to move into our final segment. But before we do, who wants to give us all your handles, how to find everything that you're doing, how to get the new album, how to purchase your stuff, how to purchase merchandise? Because again, people, we're doing this because if you want the bands that are on this show that you fall in love with to continue making music, you can't just download a song, which is great. You need to physically purchase something from them, whether it's a $5 sticker, something. It helps. You guys need to understand in today's day and age, every little bit helps when you buy directly from the artist and buy their merchandise. It's the only way they continue to get out and do what they do. So now's your time, guys, to tell everybody how to do exactly just that.
Yeah. We can just be found under Dream Phases on just all the different social medias, Instagram, Facebook, any of that. For most of our stuff is also on Bandcamp, so you could order directly from us. Also the labels we worked with, like Coconut Spaceship Records for the new album, Nomad Eel Records, Hypnotic Bridge Records, a couple others. They I think they have most of our stuff in stock right now. But yeah, our Bandcamp's the best way to do it directly from us because we have everything that we have available now. Most of the records are still in print, and we have some T-shirts and things like that. So yeah, Bandcamp's a good way to go for us.
Well, awesome. We are in our final segment. It is our weekly threes. So Brandon and Shane, please pull up your music listening devices, how you listen to music. It is 3 things that you're listening to right now. You give me your 3. Brandon and Shane, give me each your 3 things that you're listening to. And then when you're done, I give you my 3 things that I'm listening to right now.
Perfect. You want to go first, Shane?
Well, I was just on tour with another band I play with called Super Gloom, and we played Fresno. I was introduced to this really cool band I'd never heard of before called From Indian Lakes.
Oh, they're awesome. They are absolutely amazing.
They have a new release from 2024 called Head Void. I was really digging that album. Also, our friends Family of Light band, who are supposed to do the tour with Super Gloom, they had to drop out because of a family emergency. Their new EP is really cool. I think it's just called either Hurt Me Smile or self-titled. And then one more. Let me see. Well, we toured with or played a show in Sacramento with another cool touring band called Roving that kind of been really into like the shoegaze stuff for the last several years. So that they have they have an album called Spindrift that's really cool.
Awesome.
Nice. So this doesn't have to be like new things. It's just
just what you're listening to. Yeah.
Okay.
Just what you're listening to.
So right before this, and I hadn't listened to them in a long time, but I was listening to the Helio Sequence, which I love, especially a song called Transistor Radio from I think their second album. So yeah, I was just listening to that. I've recently, like over the last couple of years, got huge into like lounge and exotica. So there's a contemporary band called the Tikiyaki Orchestra that just put out a new record that's awesome. And then as far as the third one, I've been back in my Beach Boys phase again. So I've just been going through, especially a lot of like the digital outtakes albums that have came out over the past 5 years, where you can listen to like a whole session. So I've just kind of been going on the Beach Boys like Apple Music page and just hitting shuffle.
It's awesome. Good stuff. All right. So my 3 for this week. The first one I have is a power pop band. I'm going to genre label them so you know what you're going to get yourself into. They're a band called The Glad Machine. They have an album called Hey with an exclamation mark. They're power pop from Massachusetts. Really good, of that ilk that we were talking about earlier, Posey, Sloan type of stuff.
Awesome. I'll look that up too.
Next is a band called Racing Glaciers. They have an album out called Caught in the Strange. They're an indie shoegaze, atmospheric, post-rock grandeur from the UK. Really just fucking awesome shit to have on and lose yourself in.
Oh, great.
And last but not least is an artist by the name of R.D. Thomas. It's R.D. Thomas, A Crow's Fuhrer. He's from the UK. He's played in Ben Howard's band. He's played in a number, the hired gun musician type of guy, but he also has his own stuff that is fucking absolutely brilliant. So I recommend you guys check that out as well. But those are my 3 for this week.
Killer. I'm gonna look up all of them. Thank you.
But Brandon, Shane, listen, thank you guys so very much for creating the music that brought us together today. We get to spend time with strangers, and the greatest way to do that is through music. I find out in the world that we all have a lot of similarities. We have more in common than we do not. And if we can have more conversations like this in the world, based around music, we'll find out that we're all kind of the same person, and we can all get along, and we can all have fun. We can be strangers from across the country, having a great conversation with each other and enjoying each other's time. And it wouldn't be possible without the music you created. So I first and foremost want to thank you so much for that music you created. It means the world to me.
Oh, thank you, Murph. I really appreciate it, and I've really enjoyed this conversation and meeting you on here as well.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully we could see you on the East Coast sometime.
I hope we can. I look forward to meeting you guys in person at some point and just chilling and furthering the conversation and the quick sort of little friendship we've created here, and furthering that down the road to do some more stuff together. So again, I appreciate you guys so much and what it is you do. It's not easy. I don't ever want people to think it's easy to put your heart and soul and create music and let it out there for the world to see. It's really hard, and I appreciate what you guys do, and I appreciate what you've done, and I love the new album. Everybody go out and get the new album. It is called Phantom Idol. It came out beginning of July. Here we are in August, so please rush out, get it, help these guys out. Let's do it together. And that's really, really what I got to say to everybody, except for, you know what time it is now. It's time to go out. It's time to listen to Dream Phases and have a great fucking time. Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.